Mark, welcome to the show. For those of you that don't know, we have Mark Samuel on today. He is the CEO and founder of I1 Organics. I had to do this before the show, Mark. I went to Vitamin Shop. I actually went yesterday. They were closed down, but I ordered it online, picked it up in store today, and I got the Korean barbecue protein sticks just to give them a shot. You know, I had to taste it before I had you on the show. And honest opinion, I was sitting in my car. I had my dog next to me. And I said, holy fuck, these are good. And I don't know what I was expecting. I still don't know what to think about them, but I know they're really good. And I'm glad you're on the show today. And I really appreciate you coming out. Now, before we get started, there is one thing that it's just a random question. On your LinkedIn page and pretty much all of your other social media, wherever we find you on the internet, you have a picture of yourself next to a giant bag of protein puffs. Is that an actual bag or is that photoshopped in? I just wanted to know.
It's an actual bag, but it's a promotional piece. It's filled with foam.
Okay.
So it's about, it's probably like 2.5 feet tall. And I do get that question a lot. Is that Costco size? I was like, shit, I don't think Costco can handle something like that.
Yeah, that would take an army to get through that.
It would. That's like the big family size, if you would.
Yeah, there we go. Well, jumping right into it, I wanted to start by digging into your past a little bit. Looking at your bio and everything I could find about you, you and your whole career has been centered primarily around the health and wellness industry. So you started with Lane Fitness and you had Fitmark and Six Pack Fitness. So I'm wondering where this passion for fitness came from. And looking at you, I mean, you're super healthy guy. So I'm just curious about where this passion came from.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just live a health and fitness lifestyle. So I have been doing that for 20 years, 21 years. And before that really was high school and college where I played sports. But really, falling in love with the gym started, midway through school. And I just lived that lifestyle. So early in my career, actually wasn't in the health space. What I could say though is the last 10, maybe to 12 years has been. So the last few ventures that I've been involved with have been in the health and fitness space. I'd say that it's definitely not cliche when people say, "Oh, you should find something that you're passionate about." That's where you're going to find your real successes, and I think that that's true. And I've been able to just sort of exercise, like legit, exercise that with the last few ventures that I started.
Yeah. What changed in the last 10 years ago when you started to go into fitness? What changed in your mindset, or was there a big moment that you remember that it was a snap, or it just happened over time?
I think it just happened. I found when I had founded a gym with someone in San Francisco. It was really something else that I was going to do and help with, along with what I was doing at the time. And then from there, when I had founded a sport bag company. That was sort of the start of, okay, wow, I'm going to go into these type of arenas, these expos, these fitness shows, and discovering that, wow, these are the type of people that I really enjoy being around. That was probably more of the foundational point to, okay, this is where I should probably hang my hat with my career.
And you're no longer in those companies, are you?
No, sold my interest in each of those along the way.
Okay. What was the rationale behind that?
Those were earlier. It was that there were partners involved, and it was time to move on to the next venture. And then, as far as the last company, Fitmark, before this, our snack company, now it was time to move on and really be able to focus 100%, because I was trying to do both for a little while, but you can't do that. This food and beverage business is all in all the time. There is no, your focus has to be there each day.
Yeah. Well, you were in the health and wellness industry, but going from manufacturing bags and selling bags to organic foods is a big shift. So where along the line did you get into creating things like protein sticks and that giant bag of protein puffs?
That's a good question. When you're talking about CPG space, so it could be a product or of any type. But when I knew that I was going to do something else besides the bag business, and knew it was going to be in the health space, food was the evolution. And I wanted to get into the food business. I didn't know what it was going to look like yet. That took me a little bit of time to figure out what it was going to be. And then once I figured out where the void was that I wanted to fill and what that was going to look like, was when I just sort of gravitated towards it and said, okay, I'm going to be in the healthy, better for you snacking category. It's going to be on the savory side. And how I figured that out and how I got it started was really how I did everything else, which is you just got to connect the dots and move on them to really get it out the gate.
So what went into getting your first client? Like, were you selling these bags from door to door, person to person at different stores or flea markets, or did you try to get a big contract right away?
We actually went after trying to get a larger retailer. We knew because it was going to be a better for you, there was protein involved, that being in the nutrition supplement space was going to be an opportunity. I knew people at Vitamin Shoppe at the time, so we were lucky. Besides launching on our website, and maybe we had launched on Amazon early, we had a pretty big launch, a national launch with Vitamin Shoppe. This was early though, which was our original chip. Which we no longer make for many reasons, but that's
interesting. Why don't you make the chips anymore?
Our first iteration of the chip was much higher in protein. The taste and texture wasn't where we wanted it to be, so it kind of evolved. We eventually got into a better chip, but then a couple years down the line, where we're at now with our puffs and sticks, those are the horses. Those are the ones that we're going to build the brand around.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to say they're phenomenal. I really like them. But when you were in those first stores, were you guys doing everything? Like, were you manufacturing and distributing and selling all of this stuff, or what was that like?
Yeah. I mean, we use a co-packer, so we don't, we don't own a manufacturer. That's not the business we're in. Anybody who's watching this, they just, do I need to have a factory? No, not only do you not need to, most of the time it's not in your best interest, because that's not what you do for a living. You're a sales and marketing company, right? A branding company. So we just put all the dots together, figured it all out. It's a very small team, still is a very small team, but
how many people do you have right now?
Currently, there are seven of us on the team.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And I mean, you guys have distribution all the way out in Minnesota, so it seems like the seven of you are making a huge impact. You're out in California, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, I mean, time has gone on, so our distribution is much wider than when we started.
Yeah. I bet. I'm glad that you brought up sales and marketing, because that's something I really want to get into. One thing that I found that was really unique about what you're doing on your website is that you have a subscription model for these protein sticks. I want to dig into that a little bit. Where did the idea come from for that? And when did that start, and how's it going so far?
Well, subscriptions have been around, specifically on the go types of snacking, specifically in better for you. So protein bars of the sorts were they had subscription even before, sort of the hysteria of it now. And that's why we implemented it. We knew it could work. Amazon does it. They've been doing it for a long time. It just makes sense because, again, when you're selling what we were originally, which is what you have, which is single serve, it's on the go. So you're going to be able to possibly eat a bag a day or every other day. And so being on a subscription just makes a lot of sense.
Okay. And has it been successful for you so far?
Yeah, where it's really successful is actually for our direct to consumer, of course, is on Amazon. We drive 95% of our direct to consumer on Amazon. So
wow.
Coincidentally, the numbers from this morning from last month were just talked about, and our subscription is up another 20% over what it was last month.
Wow. Yeah, I was just going to ask you about what has been your most successful DTC opportunity, and obviously it's Amazon.
It is, yeah.
Is there anything that you've just fallen on your face on, like something you've done to try to market your product? I know the chips are no longer with us. Rest in peace, the chips.
Yes.
But has there been anything marketing wise that you've done that hasn't been successful?
No, we've done it. I mean, we could do this for hours, dude. I
I'm here
don't
all
say
night.
necessarily marketing wise, but I'd say, again, starting out with a chip that wasn't where we wanted it to be taste and texture wise. There's one, we launched a cereal later that went into a single serve option when in reality, it probably should have went into a value style, like what we're used to, 7, 8, 10 ounces. Flavors, we've launched a couple flavors that didn't work. Even though a couple of them were like my babies. I was working on it for months and I couldn't wait to launch them and they didn't work. So things like that.
One thing that I noticed is you guys are really, as the show title goes, you're in the niches on some of these. I've never seen a Korean barbecue snack. I've never seen a Korean barbecue potato chip or any kind of stick. But these are Korean barbecue and they're phenomenal. I felt like I was at a Korean barbecue when I was sitting in my car this morning. It wasn't just because it was 90 degrees out either.
Those are amazing. I mean, so I stand, we get that all the time. The Korean barbecue flavor, for instance, is amazing. And some could say, wow, that's polarizing because if you don't like that type, right when you see the flavor, you may not like it at all, right? You may not like Korean food. But the reality is, that flavor does very well. And it started, I'd say some time ago, with some big players in the salty snack category on the chip side. And I still see it out there every once in a while. So it must be working for them, but there's definitely not a lot of players doing it now.
Yeah, I think people definitely need to pay attention to what you're doing because these are really good.
Thanks.
One thing I wanted to touch on, and it coincides with why you got into the health and fitness industry. I noticed that you're a really big supporter of Heart of a Hero. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to ask you how that plays into your why and what you're doing at I1.
Well, at least the last few ventures that I've started have something to do with a give back portion of the business. This one was so unique because there was going to be an element that was involved with kids or youth organizations, which I've done in a previous business. But this one hit home. The short story is a good friend of mine's daughter, who's since passed, had cancer. And I noticed on social media, Heart of a Hero, and specifically this guy, Ricky Mena, and it just happened. I brought him into the office. We talked about it, and it was just one of those things that I knew was going to align with us.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. How long have you been doing that with them?
That's got to be going on for at least 2 years.
Okay. Wow. And you guys just donate a portion of your profits to them?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We don't, without getting into the financials, I'm finishing something. Without going into the financials, we donate anyway, profit or not.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Good for you. That aside, I wanted to touch on the macro trends in the healthy snack food industry specifically, because I've seen it begin to blow up. And I'm only 20 years old, but in the last 5 years, there's been an emergence of all of these healthy options that are on the market now, which is good. I mean, people are getting healthier, but I wanted to ask you, hi there.
Brianna and Mason. All right, you guys, let me finish real quick. Okay, let me finish. I'm done 10 minutes. Go ahead.
Yeah, his son and daughter just came into the screen for those of you that are listening just to the audio. I wanted to ask you about what you think about a lot of these companies that are claiming that they're healthy options and substitutes, but aren't necessarily. And then maybe a bigger picture question is, what is a healthy snack?
That's a good question. I have my own opinions about foods in general because, again, we're a balanced nutritional profile. That's the core of our business. It's how I eat. So it's the foundation of everything that we are as a brand, but more importantly, like what our snacks are going to be made of even in the future. With that said, I'm not a proponent of diets of any sort. And so anything that kind of, markets itself around that theme, I'm not really a fan of. I'm a fan of people having a good relationship with food, understanding what things like peas and beans do for you, what proteins do for you, what fats do for you. I'm not a fan of things like low to no carb diets or dieting or products. I'm not a fan of sugars that are not sugars anymore, that have a net carb because it's a alcohol of some sort. But so there's my, I'm not a fan of, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But I'm also a person that says, if something's working for you, do that. But we've shown time and time again that those things don't work. When you take a person who maybe already having some issues with eating or getting their food right, having a good relationship with food, when you start having to sort of tell them, this is what you eat, this is when you eat, this is what you don't eat, it becomes, there's a road that doesn't really end very well. And so that's my theme of it. So what is my take on those food brands? I wish them well, but I'm not a fan of a lot of them.
Okay. Yeah. And I see you guys, I mean, you're very, very simple ingredients here. I mean, there's beans, rice, and peas, super simple, well diversified. And I see you guys in the same category as like a Beyond Meat and Impossible Burger, that kind of thing. Those are fascinating. I don't know if you ever had one of those, but I was watching a video about them and the composition of them. And it's not the exact same ingredients as you guys have in yours, but it's things that are similar. And they take certain plants that mimic the properties of meat almost directly. So all the way from the beginning of it, when it's sitting in the fridge, to when you put it on the grill, it acts, smells, and tastes exactly like the same thing, which is fascinating. And I'm curious to hear your take on those and whether or not they're actually better for you or not.
It's another topic. I'm not a big fan of the fake meat market.
Interesting.
I'm also not against it. Even for us, the reason why I chose plant-based ingredients at its core, I need to finish this, Mason. Just give me a couple minutes. The reason why I chose plant-based ingredients was because it's something that I've gravitated towards. So when I see these newer foods come out like that, I at first I say that's good, because I think we do need to eat more plant foods. There's no doubt about it. Again, because as a protein, we have higher protein levels. Most assume, it must be whey or milk based, and it's not. So they actually get excited for that reason. And again, it's because I was implementing more plant foods in my diet and have done so for many years. I still eat meat though. Just a lot less. And so with that said, the idea of processing foods, because you said you've seen it and you've touched and felt, the idea of processing the food to make something resemble, taste, feel like something else that in reality is not, I use this term loosely, so don't get upset, that something is natural, like ground beef or something. I see both sides.
Yeah.
And then as a personal note, I'm all for trying it. And I did that. As soon as it comes out, I'm all for it. I get it. I actually didn't really like the taste.
Interesting.
There was something about the cooking process. I think there was something about the smell that kind of turned me off a bit. And for all the plant people who I'm on your side, I gotta say, I wanted to like it because again, I do eat a lot more plant foods than I used to.
Okay. Well, from a marketing perspective, what do you, I don't know, I don't want to put you in their shoes because I don't know if that's a fair thing to do to you, but what would you be thinking about if you were one of these companies that had a fringe product like that, where it's on the edge of like, this could be a super healthy product and could be way better for people? How do you go about that from an ethical perspective, and then also just being straight up with people, telling them the way it is?
So that's an amazing question. And, you know, with all those hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that they've been able to raise, you'd figure that they'd be able to figure that one out. Because for someone like me, because I'm just a consumer, so are you, you know, I have no affinity to eat any of those brands, even the newer ones, right? The ones that are even being private labeled by grocery stores. Is tell us the story. You know, why would it be so easy for somebody who's against that, right? Against the processing of those foods and how they're made up. I mean, a couple of the brands, you ever read the ingredient label? It's pretty wonky, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. You know, again, I mean, speaking to them, it'd be great to explain it, you know? Yeah. Explain, you're saying that it's more of a sustainable option, right? Mm-hmm. But in reality, is it? You know, there's claims that actually may not be true. So explain it, right? Explain why your food is made up the way it is. You've got plenty of money to give us the story, mm-hmm. right? So that's my take.
And maybe take us through like the actual production process of how the things are made, and see behind the scenes of everything and how it's made. I don't want to see somebody injecting a needle into my burger when it's made.
it's the reason of, again, being frank, because that's who I am. People know me. I'm very candid. It's the reason why I don't want to see the animal, right? I don't want to see the animal. Like, I still eat some meat, but I also don't want to see the animal, you know, being killed. That's why there's no storyline there. You're not some big meat producer doing this is how we do it. But
yeah, that'd be bad.
why can't you? The whole plant-based theme could be kind of amazing.
It could.
Show me you just pulled some pea, some of them is pea-based and things. Show me, where did you get it from the farm? Mm-hmm. How did you bring it in to the manufacturer? How did give it to me?
Yeah.
When you don't, and then the people who are against it, and they start barking at you, as in they're saying you're just processed foods. You're saying you're better, but you're just processed foods. You're better than half the foods that are out there. Yeah. I'd be putting together an amazing Spielberg 5-minute short film, dude.
Yeah, well, hey, I'd watch it. I know you want to get back to your kids. So one last question, and then I will let you go. Big question about white space, things that a lot of people don't see. And I want to ask it about the marketing field right now. What's one strategy that people haven't been utilizing that you think is really effective?
In marketing?
Yep, for their product or business or otherwise.
That they haven't been?
That people haven't been using, something that we're not aware of.
I just did something on a post, but this is going to be so generic, but whatever. Direct to consumer has to be a big play right now, right? And you should be looking at how you are offering your products. And I talked about variety packs is a big one. People, like, for what we sell, but really across the spectrum of products that are in food and beverage, putting together your different flavors or options into a multi-pack variety and selling it that way, it boosts sales immediately. It's a big opportunity that, again, some founders or management just sort of, it's an oversight, or they think that there's too much time to put into it, but they should really be looking at it. It's a big opportunity.
Yeah, that's a really great point, Mark. Well, with that, I appreciate you coming on. I'm really grateful that you were able to join me. I will let you get back to your kids. I know they were chomping at the bit to hang out with you today. Yeah. So I appreciate it, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.
Thanks, brother.
Take care.